Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul Stain Ink. My name is Beth, and I am here today to give you a hopefully quick review of Native Son by Richard Wright. Her. So, Native Son was published in 1940, and in it we follow a 20-year-old black boy named Bigger Thomas. Now, at the very beginning of the book, you feel a little bit of sympathy for Bigger. You are introduced to him via he and his family waking up in their one-room apartment. His mom and sister are in the bed next to the one where he and his brother are sleeping. And his mom immediately sets in on him about, are you going to go see about that job? The welfare people say they're not going to help us anymore, and we're not going to be able to afford this apartment if you don't go get that job. You're supposed to be taking care of your family. You're a grown-ass man, blah, 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 blah. And you feel a little bit of sympathy because he's like, I don't really want to go work for this white dude and be his driver. Like, I have these dreams, and I'm never going to be able to do these things. And he even talks about how, like, his mom's always on him, his sister's always on him, his brother looks up to him, but even his brother's on him a little bit about, like, you need to go get a job, help the family. You know, every once in a while he brings a little money in, but he hasn't held down a job in a while, apparently. And he's like, you know, I don't want to go do these jobs that they'll let me have. I'm a 20-year-old man. I want to go, like, follow my dreams, and I'm not even allowed to have those. A little while later, he's talking to his buddies, and they play white, where they literally are like, brr, 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 and the other one picks up a pretend phone and is like, hello, has the president called yet? Oh, yes, the president's on the line for you, sir. And it's how they feel like white people talk to each other. And it was really eye-opening because on one hand, you're like, they're grown men. They're supposed to be out taking care of families, and they're talking about, oh, I might marry my girl and we'll get our own little place, and wouldn't that be great? And then all of a sudden they're playing pretend. And it really made me think of elementary school children, you know, where they play house, even like third, fourth graders sometimes. They play mommy and daddy. And the kids that are playing the children or the dogs end up getting into tons of trouble. And mommy and daddy are in charge, and they make all these rules, and the kids can't do anything. And I feel like that's kind of where Bigger and his friends were coming from. Like, the white man makes all these rules, tells him that he can't fly an airplane unless he's part of the military. And even then, there's not 100% chance that you're going to be able to do what they told you were going to do. You may get in there and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't need any more black boys in this sector. You're not going to get to fly a plane. You get to be infantry and the first person on the ground when they start shooting. So there's all this. There's a scene in a movie theater that is both foreshadowing about who his new boss is going to be, and also something that has had to be taken out of several later printings of the book because the boys masturbate in the theater. And they get in and sit down and immediately start going, you hard yet? So it's like, it's this really odd scene. And that's kind of where I stopped having sympathy for Bigger. And there's a lot more that happens directly after that just makes you go, really, dude? Stop. But then he eventually goes to visit the white man who the welfare people set up an interview for him with. The man's name is Mr. Dalton. And Mr. Dalton needs a driver. And so Mr. Dalton immediately starts talking about how the last guy that they hired to be their driver was this really nice nigger that they put through school, and like they gave him a scholarship and he went through night school and he finished his high school diploma and went on to college, and now he's gotten this really good job, all because they like gave him all this money and put him through school. And they like to get individual black men that they feel like they can help. And wouldn't you like to go on through school, Bigger, and wouldn't you like to do all this stuff? And Bigger's like, I just want to have a good job. I don't really care about going on and doing all this extra school, whatever. Mr. Dalton's like, well, we'll see how you feel after you've had the roof over your head and good meal in your tummy every day for a little while. I bet you'll feel differently. And we donate a lot of money to the black community, and I own the building that you live in, and I'm going to pay you $25 a week, but 20 of it you have to give to your mom so she can pay rent and, maybe move into a nicer apartment in one of the buildings that I own. And Bigger's like, well, that sounds good. Like $5 a week is a lot of money at this time, just for him. And then the other 20 going to help take care of his family. That's going to do a lot for him. He's like, yeah, I agree. And then Mr. Dalton's daughter, Mary, comes in. And she immediately starts about, Bigger, are you part of a union? You should be unionized. And Bigger is scared. He doesn't know anything about unions. He doesn't know anything about any of this political stuff. He just wants to work, make money, and take care of his family until he can find something that he actually wants to do, which he doesn't think is ever going to happen, but whatever. So he's really scared he's going to lose her job because Mary is crazy. And then he's supposed to drive her that evening to the college for a lecture. And instead she tells him, hey, let's go pick up my boyfriend. And her boyfriend is a local communist leader. And they make Bigger take them to the black area of town where he's from, take them to a diner that he frequents and that he knows white people will be safe in, basically. Some of his friends are there, his girlfriend's there, and they're all like, ooh, oh my gosh. And Bigger is just consistently more and more uncomfortable with all this. Well, Jane and Mary get drunk, and he ends up having to take Mary up to her room because she can't make it by herself. And he lays her on the bed, and her mom, who is blind, comes in, and he is so afraid that Mrs. Dalton is going to figure out that a black boy is in her daughter's room, because even just being in the room when Mary's in there is cause for alarm, and they could be like rape, even though he hasn't touched her other than to help her stumble into bed. That he puts a pillow over Mary's face to lessen her mutterings because she's drunk and half asleep and just mumbling. And so he puts this pillow over her face, and Mrs. Dalton is like, Mary, are you there? He holds this pillow over her face and accidentally smothers her. At which point, Mrs. Dalton is like, oh, girl, you're so drunk. Oh, my gosh. And walks out. And Bigger finally figures out that Mary is dead. He's like really upset about it. But instead of going, well, it was an accident and her mom knows how drunk she was, so we're just going to leave her right here and they'll think that she was just that crazy drunk. He decides to try to get rid of her body and blame it on her boyfriend. And I'm not going to tell you any more about the book. There's this whole series of events that happens that you just go, that was my face for like 17 hours of audiobook. However, I enjoyed the writing style, which is the only thing I enjoyed about the book. I gave this about a 3 stars. Richard Wright is known to have said that Bigger was kind of a compilation of multitudes of individuals that he knew, both white and black. The attitudes that he and his friends had were compiled from all of these people. But A lot of people have said, including Richard Wright at one time, although I believe he later took it back, they've said that Bigger Thomas is kind of the quintessential black boy, and these are the struggles he has, and the way he disconnects from reality and the people around him, and doesn't really see his family as people anymore, and really has never thought of whites as being real, and blah, 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 is how all people feel. And I just don't believe that. And I had a very hard time connecting with, empathizing, or sympathizing with this main character who rapes, murders, etc., all throughout the book, and then is like, well, I just didn't really feel like they were real people anymore. That is dissociative disorder, not something that happened because you grew up on the south side of Chicago in 1930. Sorry. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because I rounded it up from 2.5. That's all I'm going to tell you about it. I hope you've enjoyed this review. It was a little longer than I thought it was going to be, but there's a lot that happens in this book. I was going to rant a little longer, honestly, about a few more things, but I don't think you need that to know how I feel about this book and to make up your mind whether or not you want to read it. So I'm going to leave it here. I will talk to you guys again real soon. The next review I'm going to be doing is for Black Boy, which is the memoir of Richard Wright, who is the author of Native Son. So be looking for that, and I will talk to you again soon. Stay safe. Bye.